Hello, welcome back to another video for World of Warcraft. I haven't done one of these in a very long time. So just to start, my guild, Ferocity Gladiators, is going to be recruiting for Season 3 of the War Within for World of Warcraft. So if you guys are watching and are looking for a progressive guild, do hit me up and yeah, we are always ready to recruit new members. Okay, so this video will be focusing on the Liberation of Undermine raid that is in the War Within Season 2, and I'll be just giving you my mechanics guides and tips on how to overcome the bosses. Alright, so there's not going to be many cuts in this video, so it's going to be a live, sort of like a live replay video. I'm going to be narrating the boss mechanics on the Liberation of Undermine, and then try to guide you guys how to overcome these bosses. Okay, so this is going to be a live, like a continuous video, so there's no cuts or skips. So the first boss is the Vexie. Vexie has, let's start with the tank mechanics basically. So we're gonna need to tank swap on every cast of Tank Buster. Tank Buster does sort of like a knockback to the tank, and then what happens is that the tank will get ×2 damage over time from the boss. So you need to swap tanks to avoid threat from the tank that previously did the Tank Buster mechanic. Okay, then for DPS, the reason why we tank the boss nearer to the walls is because so that the motorbikes that are gonna come in can land nearer to the wall area. So when the bikes land at the wall areas, right, like you can see currently, yeah, you can cleave down the bikes, and then what you're gonna do is gonna right click onto the bikes that died, and then aim it at the boss and then press 1. So what happens is you will be sort of like reducing the boss's defense as you use the bikes to ram against the boss. Yeah, so the faster you do it, the lesser the boss has the defenses up, and then yeah, you can do basically more damage. It does a little bit more faster time to take it down. So then the next mechanic would be the 2 all spills that you just saw, the purple rings. So this probably happens on ranged characters, although I think I've seen it on melee characters if you walk too far away. So when you get those purple circles, try to aim it near the center of the room so that you don't block the path that the tanks is sort of like bringing the boss around. In this game, I think we are doing it clockwise, so we do it from 12 o'clock all the way down. So all the all spills happen right in the middle of the arena. Okay, and then phase 2 is where mechanical breakdown happens. You got a chance to try and DPS down the boss while the boss is sort of like repairing. And when it repairs, it summons these sort of goblin ads to try and repair the boss. So the goblin ads, you got to interrupt the repair mechanics and then try to cleave down the goblins as fast as possible, like you see currently. So all the interrupts are being all the casts are being interrupted on the goblins. Yeah, and then so if you didn't manage to interrupt, basically the boss heals over time, and it takes a bit longer to take down the boss. But there's not really much wipe mechanics except for this part. Okay, so yeah, now we're gonna skip to the second boss. This time on the second boss we did reverb instead of the cauldron, and I'll explain why later once we get to the boss phase. Okay. Alright, let's continue. So basically what happens in this Liberation of Undermine is that there is a so-called strategy called the death run. Basically every single boss doesn't have ads around the pit except for rig reverbs. That's why we take the boss first. Once we take down rig reverbs, we can basically just death run all the way into Cauldron of Carnage, and then from that boss onwards there's no ads in the middle of the pitch, so we can just like run through all the ads along the way and then die in the pit and then wait for someone to heal us. For that to happen, you need at least 2 heroes. One of them is a shaman that can self-reincarnate, and then the other is a healer that can like mass revive everyone. You can also do it with the cartel jumpers as well, but that's every 30 minutes, so it's not that reliable. Okay, second boss. So we are at the rig reverbs. basically what happens, the main mechanic is that he will spawn like amplifiers. I think that's what it's called. So amplifiers will appear on the ground. So you want to try and tank this boss very near like the area. So if you start, let's say you start right here, you want to tank the boss as close as possible to the previous amplifier without the boss getting too near, because you don't want the boss to get increased damage. And then when ads spawn, just take down the ads. Simple mechanics: avoid the fire on the floor, avoid the frontals, and then destroy all the ads, and then continue with the boss. Yeah, so phase 1 is like that, just avoid everything and then take down the ads. Random players will get certain electrical circles. It's not that hard, so just avoid those players that have. And then when he casts this amplifier summoning, you just get out of the area, wait for him to cast it. Once he's out, you can just DPS down again. Yeah, this happens for a while. So one thing to note is that range DPS, just try to stay together, because the amplifiers will appear on the spot that the range players mostly are. So you need to try and stick together in the middle of the arena as much as possible. Yep, then the mechanic repeats. If the boss gets too near to amplifier, he gets increased damage. Yep, so now he's gonna summon another amplifier. Yep, and also amplifiers got to be discharged by most of the time ranged characters, because you can get to the amplifier and do damage at the same time. So ranged characters try to go to the amplifiers and right click on the amplifier. Basically it will sort of like bring the HP of the amplifier lower, which then prevents the amplifiers from doing too much amplifying onto the boss, if that makes sense. Okay, phase 2. So this is when the sound effect happens. So when he does sound cloud, you gotta step into a big amplifier circle to sort of soak the damage. The reason why you want to tank the boss very close to the center is so that the amplifiers don't stand like too far from each other, like here. So this is probably one of the furthest amplifiers. Yep, so you want to tank the boss like very close to each amplifier. Yeah, and you can see, as long as you stay in the cloud, and I'm on like half HP, you can basically take the soak of the sound cloud. Yep, and then the boss mechanic just repeats from here. So I think there is a tank mechanic. I can't remember what's the spell, but just tank swap on the tank mechanic as well. Yeah, pretty simple, not very difficult. Okay, here we have the death run. So basically everybody just runs all the way to the arena of the next boss, and then just try to die as close as possible to the Cauldron of Carnage. Once everybody's dead, you can just like sort of recover and then revive everyone. Mass regen is pretty big on the radius, so you just got to like reach the arena. Yeah, here you see me attempting with a DPS. Normally I can do it with a tank character, but DPS sometimes falls short. So the best way is to get onto a mount that is not the G99 car, because that mount has a sort of like a higher damage capability to tank to tank the damage from all the ads. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna see me get onto the Mammoth. Yeah, this is what I usually use. And then yeah, we're gonna walk all the way to the Cauldron of Carnage. So you can see I'm like sort of attracting damage to myself. The whole point is to sort of die in this area right here, or even closer. If you can get to the arena, it's even better. Yep. And then wait for people to revive you. Right, from here on I'm gonna fast forward because this is a bit of a waste of time. So okay, so here we are at Cauldron of Carnage. So this boss is actually two different bosses. One of them is called Flarendo and the other one is called Talk. Both have different mechanics, both have to be tanked separately. That's the reason why we need two tanks in the raid at all times. So I'm going to start with the tank mechanics first. Basically, when the bosses are on either sides, you got to tank the bosses as far away as possible to each other. Try not to make them contact with each other, because the more they stand next to each other, the more damage reduction that they have. So you got to try and tank the boss very far away from each other. So normally Ferrando on the left and Top on the right. And then normally you split the team into two different teams. So like normally we go odds on the left and then evens on the right. Preferably right side melee and left side range. But if you want to have like a spread, it's also fine. Okay, so we'll start with the mechanics for DPS now. Yep, on Florendo, we have to sort of tank the boss towards the edge of the room, and then the first thing that happens is the bomb soak. So whenever a bomb soak happens, we need at least 5 players to stand inside the bomb soak, and then while that happens, there's also a beam that will happen. So when you want to try and aim the beam away from everybody in the raid, so try to aim it near a gate, near one of the gate angles. Okay, then when the bomb explodes, basically there'll be like a very huge fire pit that happens there. So you want to try and tank Ferrando from the bottom of the pit all the way up, if possible. Yeah, there's a second bomb, so you know that the fire will be appearing there as well. So if you see this guy, he aims the beam away from everybody in the raid, and then the bomb soak happens, boom, and yeah, as every bomb appears, oh yeah, and there'll be these like fiery things that happen on the floor as well. So those will create fire as well. So on Ferrando, there is a lot of hazards, so we gotta try to keep. Actually, it's best to keep the hazards towards the gate of the angle. But in this raid, we didn't really do it that well. So yeah, I mean, as long as you do the mechanics, that's fine. Alright, now we have Colossal Clash. So on Colossal Clash, every single person of the different sides swap, including the tanks and the healers and the DPS. So you go from Ferrando, if you start from Ferrando, you go to Talk, if you go to Talk, you go to Ferrando. When this clash happens, they will clash for a while, then you can get to sort of clean damage both of them. And then when they split, basically both teams split again. So the first thing is electricity damage on the floor, so there's hazards on the floor you gotta watch out for. On top, there's gotta be a status bar that appears, if you see on top of my screen. So you basically got to move lesser when you fight Talk. Once the bar turns full, there will be a random stun on 5 players in the top side of the arena, so you don't want that to happen. So you got to try and sort of sidestep whenever you move. For casters, that's not much of a problem until you get the electrical stuff. And then the next mechanic is the galvanized spike. So you get these kind of shadows. The shadows try to not let it touch you, otherwise you get stunned as well. And this is what I mean by the electric damage. So yeah, at this point I wasn't able to get out the electric damage, so I died. So the whole point is to try and sidestep your way out of the electric circles, so that you can so that you can don't fill up the bar on Talk. Yep, so that's basically the mechanic. There's not a lot of difficulty on these first two bosses, so it's just mainly hazards on the floor, and then soaks, and then basically everything that is in the basics of World of Warcraft mechanics you just need to know. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna death run all the way to Styx right now. So this is my attempt. I think I went on a car. Did I went on a car? Okay, I went on a... Yeah, okay. So, yeah, this is another death run. So we're gonna skip, and then I'll try and fast forward, and you'll see me land at Styx Arena. Okay, so yeah, for this boss, okay, so basically we're in Discord, right? And I wanted to go. Sorry, we wanted to go 3 tanks, including myself. So the basic thing is, my role was basically just supposed to sort of interrupt the goblins that cast, like the ads that cast things, so that it's a bit easier. Sometimes you run with 3 tanks on sticks, so that you have 1 tank on a roller, you have 1 tank pulling the boss, and maybe another one just walking through to interrupt all the ads. Yeah, because those interrupts are very important for sticks. So here I think I last minute wanted to go to the DPS but couldn't, so we just worked with it. Yeah, so okay, tank mechanic, whenever sticks does the demolish, I think it's demolish, that's like similar to the tank buster on Vexie. You got a tank swap, and then for DPS just try to avoid the fire that goes around your feet. There's like a circle ring of fire that happens on DPS, so just avoid each other. And then the main mechanic here is the rolling bombs basically. Yeah, so I wanted to go to DPS, but I think they started too fast. Yeah, so I stuck with tank, and let's go. Okay, so at the start there's nothing much until the boss casts the rollers. Okay, this is the incinerate, so people get, like you see, fire on the legs of everybody, so you just gotta spread out and try not to AoE everybody else. And then now we come the ads. So when the balls happen, you just basically got to the people on the rollers, so you just focus on the people on the rollers. As you roll on the balls, you are picking up like garbage trash on the floor, so you gotta roll over the garbage trash to try and make your ball big. And then when your ball becomes big enough, the main priority is to destroy the bombs that happen in the arena. Yeah, and then if there's no more bombs, you can just smack into the sticks, the boss. Yeah, and then as the ads appear, you got to try and interrupt the ads as they cast. Like you see currently the ads is casting. Yep, and we interrupted that. So fire on the floor again, and everything repeats. So as tank, you gotta try and tank the boss away from the fire pit, so that the rollers have a clear view of the boss and to smack into the boss. For those that are not on the bombs, here you can see the bombs on the right side of my screen. So you can see the rollers like picking up the trash, and then you'll see bang, there we got one bomb, and that's the second bomb. Okay, so for those who are trying to understand what just happened, just try and slow down the video. The bombs are on the top right of my screen earlier. Okay, and then once the fire happens, just try and tank the boss away from the fire area. And then the boss does this flying around thing, so just avoid the electric circles that happen on the floor. Blah blah blah. Once he's gonna do like a very big land, so just avoid that as well. And then you can just run in and just DPS down. Yep, and then the whole mechanic happens again. So just repeat fire on the legs again, and then there's gonna be ads. Yep, there we are. Fire on the legs. Trash will appear around, and then there will be rollers. So only one tank will definitely get a ball. That's why we have two tanks in this fight. Because mostly for interrupt, there's another Death Knight and another Paladin. Yeah, so you see the bombs behind me. They are gonna be sort of like destroyed from the rollers. Just focus on the bombs. There's a roller on the back, and there's a roller at the front. Bombs down.
Interrupt.
Yep, and now we focus on interrupts and just clearing of the ads. Yeah, and notice where the boss is going. It's very clear away from the fire, so that the players have, like, especially melee. If you tank near the fire, melee people don't have the chance to stand near the boss and DPS down. So you want to try and tank the boss away from the fire. Ads again. Right, again, bombs on the left side of my screen. Yep, there you see a bomb behind me. Wait for the roller to destroy the bomb. Okay, here there's like a lot of fire. Yep, there you see the bomb just got destroyed. So then now we pull the boss away from the fire if possible. Oh, okay, not necessary. So yeah, that sticks. Yeah, not very difficult. Yes, compared to Hero normal, I think the only addition is the sort of fake bombs that will chase after you. So you just gotta DPS down those fake bombs ads. Other than that, there's not much changes. Yep. Okay, fast forward to Sprocket. Okay, we are now at the Sprocket boss. This boss is basically 4 quadrants fight. Electricity will happen on the floor of at least two of the quadrants every single time you fight. So the whole entails around players being on the correct quadrant where there's no electricity. Okay, and for tanks, basically just watch out for Pyro Party Pack, which is like a sort of like a bomb pack that will appear on a tank that is currently taking taunt, and then that tank has to run to the corner of the arena to try and explode, and then you got a tank swap so that the same tank doesn't get the same explosive twice. Okay, so we start on the top side. That's where the boss starts his cast. So top side, you can see there's no electric on the floor. On the opposite side of the arena, that's where you see the huge amount of electricity that happens on the floor, and make sure you don't stand there. So first cast Footbuster basically just avoids it's just an AoE damage, so you just got to put some defensives and just DPS down. And then when he casts this wire transfer is where he's gonna go to the opposite side of the pitch. Sorry, of the arena. Okay. Okay. So there's going to be some of these busters, so just avoid. I'm gonna just skip those main mechanics where you know if you see things on the floor, just avoid hazards on the floor. Wire transfer. This is where it happens. So DPS and tanks and healers, everybody just swap over to the other side where there's no electricity. He's gonna cast these things at the side where it's gonna like fire rockets or like spirals, so just avoid those things on the floor. Now you can see the tank mechanic. There's a tank that's holding this bucket thing, so he's gonna run to the side and then just explode, and we swap tank at this point. So then DPS down, blah blah blah. Okay, the main mechanic for the change of phase is where he goes into beta launch, where you got to try. This is the Foot Blaster. Okay, beta launch basically is a knockback to everybody in the raid. You gotta try and place yourself between the boss and the like a very long corner of the room. So not yet. Currently still DPS phase. DPS. Okay, wire transfer. We go on to the opposite side of the pitch. Oh no, there's no transfer. Okay, so we just maintain. Yeah, so just take note where the electric things spawn, and then just stand on the side where there's no electricity, and you'll be fine. And then yeah, just keep doing DPS. There'll be things that try to draw you towards the spirals, so you just gotta avoid like being drawn to the spirals. Beta launch, this is where you align yourself between the boss and the wall, so you don't fly off, and try and get as close as possible to the boss without walking over too much of the electric. So the best places are basically the conveyor belts at the side and the middle, and then just DPS down. This is the spot where the healers got to do immense amount of healing to try and keep everybody alive. Just DPS down, stand near the conveyor belt if you need to, and then that's where phase 2 ends, so everything just repeats from here. So here is, I think, Footbuster again, and then everything goes again. So like hazards on the floor, just watch out for Footbuster AoE, put some defensives on, DPS down. Yeah, pretty simple boss. It's just all about going to the different quadrants of the arena. Tank Power Party Pack again, just tank swap at this point. He should be good to go. Yep, and then those hazards on the floor, just avoid. Make sure to tank the boss in the middle where there's more accessibility to melee players. Yeah, and then wire transfer, just swap to the opposite side of the pitch again. Yeah, and then DPS down. Yep, pretty simple boss. Okay, fast forwarding to One Arm Bandit. Okay, hello everybody, welcome to One Arm Bandit. So this is a boss that is pretty easy, I would say. It's there's not much mechanics that need to be avoided. It's more like what you need to do. So the first thing, tank mechanic, there's going to be like a blast that happens on the tank, so you got to run to the wall and then release that blast of like grey thing. I can't remember what the name is called. So tank swap on that tank mechanic. Once the tank runs to the wall and releases, you got a tank swap, and then the next tank has to take the next like run to the wall mechanic. You'll see later that I'll point it out to you guys. Then for DPS, there's going to be like coins that drop on the floor. You can basically take the coins, pick it up, and then roll it back to the boss to do damage, or you can just roll it to the side to like sort of keep it out of the way. There's going to be like 4 different types of so-called like phases or versions of the boss. Basically, if you do those different types of it's like you know when you put coins into a system and then you get a different outcome. So there's 4 different types of coins. There's one that is a shock, which is electricity. There's one that is a fire. There's one that is, I think there's air, and then there's another one, I can't remember what's that one. So basically for DPS, you just got to pick up those coins and then insert it into the boss. The coins that you pick up, it's not the same as the roller coins, which you will see later. Okay, so we'll start with the DPS down. At the start, just DPS down the ads. Yeah, so you see this is the coins that roll out, so you just got to avoid the coins as they roll out because these do quite a lot of damage for DPS, so just avoid them. For range, if you pick up the coins, just aim it towards the opposite side of the arena. Yeah, then you see that there's the tank swap mechanic. So when a tank has that, run to the wall and then explode, and then the other tank swaps. So now we are on the second tank side, and this is where you take down the ads that happen, and then you insert the ads, the sort of like the special effects. So this special effect I think is fire, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so the coins roll back to the boss. Yeah, so just avoid the coins AoE when the coins roll back. Okay, pay line again. So there's not really much like floor mechanics. It's just a lot of DPS. Yeah, and tank swap. There you see the fire coin. So the fire coin has been inserted. Tank mechanic again. Tank swap at this point. For DPS, just DPS down. Avoid the fires that are on the floor. Good to have any AoE healing in this point, so you can AoE heal everybody. Okay, then there's the electric coins that appear. So you gotta take down the ads. Okay, so if you insert a coin ad into the boss, it rolls out the coins mechanic. If you insert the electric ads on the boss, it will have the electric mechanic, which happens right now. You see the electric thing that appears here. Yeah, that's where the electric thing appears. So you just got to like, get the boss it's good to get the boss close to electric, so then you don't have that electric line that appears within the boss and the currency coil. Just avoid the coins again, tank mechanic again. Yeah, so if you are basically like me, very simple-minded, just do what I do. Just avoid everything. You don't if you are not like a mechanics person, just make sure you are doing DPS, avoid everything, and stay alive. Phase change. So at this point, you just gotta DPS down as fast as possible. If not, the boss will reset the earlier mechanic. Here we have the fire coin again. Yeah, and now it's time for the DPS down. If you can DPS down the boss, is good. Then he will just be. This is the part where you can DPS down, because he's sort of like stunned at this point to try and regenerate. Yeah. Yeah, and this is where the electric thing happens. So when the electric happens, you can see the blue line going towards the right of my screen. Just don't stand within the boss and the electricity thing, or else it will zap you. Yep. And then just hard DPS down. So not much mechanics here for like a standard DPS guy. If you don't want to do mechanics, you can just DPS down. It's not very hard to like stay alive. Okay. We'll go on to Mark Z after this. Okay guys, welcome to Vexie. This boss has two different sort of like sides to it. On the left side where you see the blue color metallic face, there's a set of mechanics, and then on the right side, on the orange side, there's also another set of mechanics. So tank swap when there's the golden things. Okay, so DPS, we start with going down on the boss. We start on the left side. So for the left side, there's two mechanics. The first one is the bombs that will appear. You need one player to sort of touch the bomb as it goes off, and as the bomb goes off, there'll be soaks that happen on the floor. You got to soak, right? So yeah, you see here that there's a soak. So I'm gonna soak one of them as it happens, and tag one bomb. Yeah. So the bomb's got to go off one at a time, not simultaneously. Otherwise, you take like very heavy damage. And then there's the group soak happening here. So that's the second mechanic. Yeah. So there's a group soak and there's the bombs thing. So that's the basic two mechanics for the left side of the Vexie. For DPS, for tanks, there's not much tank swap for the left side, so you can just stay on single tank. And then from here is where he's okay. So there's one more spray and paint, but this one is just a frontal, so just avoid the frontal. Aim at one person. Once he reaches almost maximum energy, just swap him over to the other side. That's where his energy reduces back to 0, and you don't want him to get to 100 energy. You can see the energy on the Vexie character. Like now is orange color bar. Once he reaches full, he's like in a white mode. Okay, so on the orange side, this is the first mechanic where the prisons happen. So some DPS just go into the prisons, just DPS down the stone ads that appear. Once that happens, try to face the same way so that you don't break all the walls. Yeah, as you fly, you break the walls, and you leave sort of like 1 or 2 walls appearing. And after this, there will be like sort of like a frost cast, like an ice cast. You got to use the walls to stand behind them, and then yeah, this is where it happens. You got to try and run behind the walls in between, so that make the wall in between the arrow, so that when the frost comes, it hits the wall and you're free. And that's where you clear the mechanic. So then after that, just DPS down. From here, he spams this some fury gun thing, just avoid anything that's on the floor, blah blah blah, then DPS down, and then swap sides. Yeah, and then this mechanic just repeats again and again. So if you're fast enough on the damage, there is no gold-plated things for the tank, so you don't have the tank swap. But sometimes there's the tank gold-plated thing, so you got to like tank swap a little bit. And now he does this bullet storm where he randomly flies to a random player, and then he starts spinning around like the warrior blade storm. So just got to avoid his path, but doesn't make much of a impact, because as he goes, he just stuns the person that he runs into. So just avoid that. Yeah, and then Ed's got to die as well. Yeah, once Ed is down, you can just DPS down the boss. Yeah, so if you step on the electric things, you get stunned, and then repeat everything again. Now he's in his sort of like phase 3 stage where he goes to full last mode. When he's full last mode, his damage is increased, so you got to try and take him down as fast as possible, or else he takes you down. Yep, and now every single mechanic happens. So Frost Shatter is where the ice flies to all players that is marked. So healers got to be aware of that. Just continuously heal those players that are marked, and then just DPS down. And then the Earthshaker happens on this side as well. This is where basically every single mechanic that you see previously on the two sides combines together on this third phase of the boss extra last period. So you just got to do immense amount of damage. This is where you should do your Bloodlust, Soak, Prisons, Frost. Okay, you can't really avoid the Frost because there's no walls currently, and then yeah, just DPS down. There we go, that's the 7 bosses. I didn't manage to record Galliwix. Just hope you guys like the DPS representation of the mechanics under Heroic for Liberation of Undermine. Thank you very much.